The Missouri State Penitentiary, also known in the 1960s as the Bloodiest 47 acres in the United States, was a prison for 168 years and is 100 years older than Alcatraz. Come with us as we explore one of the darker sides of Missouri history. The Missouri State Penitentiary is voted #1 on TripAdvisor for places to visit in Jefferson City, Missouri. The penitentiary is 100 years older than Alcatraz and stood and served as a prison for over 168 years. It stands across the street as a stark contrast to the Christopher S. Bond Federal Courthouse that exists today. You can see the deterioration to this building has occurred since it was closed down in 2004. It's a combination of just the deterioration of the building left standing for long periods of time, with the fact that it was actually hit in 2019 by a tornado that damaged 12 buildings and one of the tunnels at the prison. Like many prisons built around this time, it has a mix of famous and infamous history. The Missouri State Penitentiary construction began in 1834. The first inmate, Wilson Edison, arrived in 1836, first female inmate in 1842, and it was shut down in 2004. The prison was famous for being one of the most efficient in the country, infamous for notorious inmates, riots, and in the 1960s being labeled the bloodiest 47 acres in the United States. Next to the prison stands the old Warden's house. This is now the Jefferson City Convention and Visitors Bureau, and downstairs is a museum dedicated to the prison itself. When you first walk into the museum, you are surrounded by several exhibits that talk about the confined space and the living conditions of the inmates. Next, we can walk into an exhibit about the warden's office, and you can immediately see the difference in the conditions that the warden was working in versus the conditions the inmates were living in. With nice furniture, more space, a lot of artwork that was actually made by the inmates. In the middle of the museum is an area that is dedicated to the different times or time periods of the museum, from its early days to its later days. There was a single wall dedicated to the correctional staff that had worked at the prison. Next, we can walk into a room that actually focuses on two of more controversial things about this particular prison. First of all, we have the infamous prisoners, which includes a couple of people from famous gangs like Bonnie and Clyde's gang, and then James Earl Ray, who escaped in 1967 and went on to actually assassinate Martin Luther King Jr. in Memphis, Tennessee. So definitely some well-known prisoners and very infamous prisoners. The second part of the room is actually dedicated to the execution chamber, which was a gas chamber. In all of the executions, there were 40 in total, except for the very last one, where prisoners were gassed. So there's a total of 40. And while this may seem really harsh today, for there to be 40 executions, it actually, the executions at the prison ended the sort of courthouse hangings that would happen in the public square. The prison earned its nickname, the bloodiest 47 acres in the United States, for a combination of inmate-on-inmate violence, primarily in the 1960s, in addition to the 1954 riots. Another historical element of the Missouri State Penitentiary that many may find controversial is the use of inmates for labor. So a lot of goods were manufactured around the prison system, and at one point this prison was considered to be the most efficient in the country. So there are three things that really stood out to me as we were kind of wrapping up our visit. One was some of the amazing artwork made by the inmates who were housed at Missouri State Penitentiary. The second one was that there was actually a fire at the Missouri Capitol building, and the fire brigade from the prison actually went and helped put out the fire, saving lots of documents, and actually those prisoners earned their freedom based on helping to put out that fire. And then lastly, the prison actually sponsored a little league team so that they could watch them practice and play from the prison. We will be sure to add in the description the link to the Missouri State Penitentiary site. There are actual guided tours. Also, they are using t-shirt sales in order to help fund the restoration and the preservation of this historical building. Thanks for watching our video as we checked out the museum dedicated to the Missouri State Penitentiary. Please like our video and subscribe to our channel to help support our new channel. Also, it'd be great if you can ring that notification bell so you don't miss a video. See you next time.